Okay, this is second semester exam review part 5. The last 30 problems, number 121 to 150. Again, not teaching the material, showing you how to get the answer in the most efficient manner. Okay, so number 121, matching section of the exam, has 3 questions and 7 possible answers. How many ways can a student answer the 3 questions if none can be repeated? Well, I hope you know that answering questions on a test, the order does have an effect. So that means this is permutations. I have 7 possible answers, and I'm going to choose 3 of them. So if you do not know, on class calc, in this, nope, not stat. Yes, it is. NPR is right here. NPR, 7, choose 3, and that's 210. My answer is D. Okay, a student must choose 1 to 5 7 science electives. You got 1 out of 5 for science, 1 out of 8 for social studies, and 1 out of 7 for language. How many possible selections? Fundamental counting principle. 5 times 8 times 7, and that equals 280. A hamburger shop sells hamburgers with cheese, relish, lettuce, tomato, onion, mustard, or ketchup. How many different hamburgers if you can choose any 4 of the extras? Well, you count up the extras. There's a total of 7. The order that you put those extras doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's cheese and relish or relish and cheese. So it is a combination, not a permutation. And I want 4 of those. And 7, choose 4. Just like we did in class calc with permutations, it's going to give you an answer of 35. So it's B. All right, from 9 names on a ballot, a committee of 4 will be selected to attend. Okay, if I'm making a committee of 4, there's no distinction between the 4 people serving on that committee, so the order that I choose them does not matter. So that again is 9 choose 4, and 9 choose 4 is 126. All right, 125. We have a group of people, and he wants to know what's the probability that a man entering college is 68 to 69. So that's this group right here. So what's the probability that I choose a person out of that category? Well, there's 257 in that category. And when you add all of these numbers across, then you're going to get 890. So 257 divided by 890 is 0.2888, which gives you 28.88%, or in this case, C. All right, 126. A bag contains 6 red marbles, 4 blue marbles, and 1 green. What's the probability of not getting blue? So how many of these marbles are not blue? I've got 6, and then I have another one that's not blue out of a total of 11 marbles. So my answer is B. All right, 2 6-sided die rolls. What's the probability of the sum of the 2 numbers? Okay, the sum, y'all, when you roll a dice, there's 36 different possible sums with 2 6-sided dice. So you need to remember that because that's what your bottom number is based on. Okay, how many ways can I get a 3? I can either roll a 1 and a 2, or I can roll a 2 and a 1. So there are 2 possibilities out of 36, which reduces to 1/18. Okay, what is the probability that a card drawn is not a heart? So you got 2 choices. You can think of, well, if they're only asking about suits, there are a total of 4 suits, and how many of them are not hearts? 3 of them. So the answer is A. Or you can say, if I'm going to draw a deck, they're kind of concentrating on this. And you can do 1 minus how many hearts are in the deck. There's 13 out of 52. You will get the same answer. Okay, however, whichever way you think of. All right, 1 digit from this 7,868,118 is written on each of 7 cards. What's the probability of drawing a card that shows a 7 or a 1? So the operative word here is or. And when you're doing probability and you're doing or, and I'm only drawing 1 card, that means I'm adding. And I want to know what's the probability of getting a 7 plus the probability of getting a 1 minus the probability of getting a 7 and a 1. I can't get a 7 and a 1 when I draw one card, so I don't have to worry about that minus part. How many 7s are there? There are 1 out of 7 numbers. How many 1s are there? There are 2 out of 7 numbers. And 1/7 plus 2/7 is 3/7. So that's our answer. All right, 2 6-sided die roll. What's the probability that the sum is odd? Okay, so this one, y'all, they're looking for the probability of odd and the probability that a number on one of the dice is a 3. So one of the numbers is a 3. So an and means we're multiplying. So that means that this is the probability of odd times the probability of the number being equal to 3, given that it's odd. So when you add up, remember I told you there were 36 different possibilities, and it might be easier to look at a chart, so I put one on here for you. But how many of these are odd? They're all highlighted there. There are 18 out of 36, which of course is half. So half the numbers is what you would think. Half of them would be odd. Okay, now in this next one, of the odd ones, so of all these highlighted ones, which one has a 3 on the dice? So if I look at these, that's 1, 2, 3. That has a 3 on the dice. And this has a 3 on the dice. So there's 3 there. So that's 6 out of the 18 that are odd. And when you multiply 1/2 times 6/8, you get 1/6. So our answer is B. All right, 132, limits. All right, I'm going to go to my graph because I have to use a table. You've got a calculator you can do it on. So I'm looking at x squared minus 5. So I'm going to graph y equals x squared minus 5. Okay, and when I have that, I can do, well, I converted it to table. That's fine. You just can't see the graph. But what is the number I have to put in, the first one? And the number that they wanted was negative 0.1. And when you put that in, you get negative 4.99. So that means the first number I should see would be negative 4.99, and the only one that has that is B. So the answer to 131 is B. All right. Now, the graph of the function. I'm going to talk about these because people were challenged with this. I'm going to use this one. So the limit as x approaches 0. Y'all, the limit of the function says, what is the function going towards? That's going there. This one is going there. Are they going to the same number? Yes, they are going to the same number. So since they're going to the same number, then the limit is whatever that number is, which in this case is 0. Well, what is f of 0? This is 0 right here, the x-axis, okay? Excuse me, the y-axis. There's no part of the graph. There's no solid dot. There's nothing. So that means that this does not exist. So I'm looking for, sorry about the cat. The limit is 0, so that's not an option. That's not an option. Well, D was the only option. I didn't even have to do the second part. Okay? But I'm going to keep talking about that because, again, this is challenging for people. So the limit as x approaches 2. Okay, here's 2 right here. So I'm looking, well, what does my function go towards? From there, it goes that way. My function comes to the same number. So the limit as x approaches 2 is 2. Well, that says it doesn't exist. It does. C says 2, B says 1, and D says 1. And the limit is not 1. But this is an example. F of 2, y'all, is 1. That's where the dot is colored in. So that's the value of the function. So my answer for 133 is C. Okay. 134. Okay, this one, the limit as x approaches 1. So 1 is here. So this is going here. And this one is going here. So do my 2 arrows come together? They do not come together. And since they do not come together, the limit does not exist. So boom, 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 134. The answer is D. But you can look, like I said, f of 1 is 2 because that's where it's colored in for 1. All right, 135. All right, these are one-sided limits, and one-sided limits, y'all, always exist. So you can ignore that one right there. So the limit as x approaches 1 from the right. So here's 1 right here. And from the right, my graph is going right there. This is my graph. So what is the limit as x approaches 1? It is 2, which knocks that guy out. Now they want to know what is f of 1. Well, f of 1, I need to go find out where it's colored in, and it's colored in right here. And that is 2, so it is 2 also, which means that my answer is B. Okay, 136. Oops. 136, same graph. All right, this time I'm coming from the left. The limit as x approaches 1 from the left. So I'm coming this way. Well, what's the value of the function as I get there? It's 1. The limit is 1. That one is A is good, C is good, B is not, and D is not. And now, what is the value of the function? Well, the value of the function is where the function is closed in. So that is 2. And that gives me the answer of A. All right, 137. Find the property of limits. Okay, so first and foremost, when you're trying to find the limit, what you want to do is just go plug it in everywhere you have x. Every polynomial, y'all, has a limit. Okay, so if I don't plug in 2 there, it's getting carried away. So when you plug in 2, you get 8 plus 5 times 4 minus 7 times 1. You get an answer of 15. Okay, just plug 2 in for x. All right, 138 again. Okay, all you have to do is plug in 4. So this is going to be 4 minus 4. And this is going to be the square root of 4 minus 2. Well, this one is 0, and that one is 0, and 0 times 0 is 0. So your answer is D. Okay, a piecewise function. They need us to find the limit as x approaches 1 from the left. So then I need to look at the piece where it's less than 1. So I'm going to go up here and plug in 1. Plug in 1, I get negative 1. X from the 1 from the right means I'm looking at that piece of the function. So when I plug a 1 in here, negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7. Okay, so it's negative 7. And I should have done this first. I can already cross those out because the limit was negative 1. Here, it's negative 7. Both of those have negative 7. But more importantly, because these are different, then I know the limit does not exist. So 139 is C. They have to be the same number for it to exist. All right. Now we get into, we have problems with x squared minus 2x minus 15 over x plus 3, because now if I plug in negative 3 right here, I'm going to get 0 on the bottom. And if I get 0 on the bottom of something, I got to figure out how to rewrite this thing. I don't just say it doesn't exist. So I'm only going to be able to do something if one of the factors is what I see on the bottom. And that means what's left is x minus 5. And those cancel out. And when I plug in negative 3 for x, I get negative 8. Okay? The problems are contrived to help you do that, y'all. Same thing. If I plug in 0, I get 0. I can't have that. So I'm going to factor the top. I factor out an x. X squared plus 12x minus 5. Those go away. So when I plug in 0, I end up with negative 5 on the top and 5 on the bottom, which gives me an answer of negative 1. All right. Use the 142. Use the definition of continuity to determine whether f is continuous at A. Y'all, this is a polynomial, and every polynomial is continuous everywhere. So you can go plug it in if you want to, or look at it, or graph it, but it's a polynomial. All right, this next one, I have a piecewise function, so I'm going to actually got to plug in. I got to see what happens. If I put a 1 here, then I get 7. If I put a 1 here, I get 1. Well, that's enough right there to say they're not the same. They're not continuous because those numbers are not the same, so my answer is A. All right, determine for what numbers it's discontinuous. Okay, I just said that's a polynomial. It does not have a fraction. Therefore, it is continuous everywhere and has no points of discontinuity. All right, 6 problems left, y'all. We're on the down home stretch. All right, 2x, I've got a fraction here. I have to be worried about where it's equal to 0 in the bottom. So that becomes x minus 5, x plus 5, which means both 5 and negative 5 give me a problem. So that's where it's discontinuous. Didn't ask what it was, just letting you know. All right, so this last page, y'all, is dealing with limits. And I'm going to tell you after grading the test that a lot of people did better with an alternate form that they found in my lab math, so I was fine with it. And I'm going to actually use that with you now to hopefully simplify this process. And that was the limit as x approaches c of f of x minus f of c all over x minus c. All the problems I do can be done with that. This is c, and this is f of c. So in this case, I'm going to have the limit as x approaches 5. F of x is negative 4x squared plus 7x minus a negative 65, because it's f of x is the first part minus f of c is the second part, and x minus c. Okay, now I told y'all these are contrived, so what you need to think about is this numerator. If you take a negative out, I'm left with 4x squared minus 7x minus 65. Okay, and they are contrived, y'all, which means you can back into the factoring. I got x minus 5 on the bottom. I'm going to have x minus 5 on the top. And if I do, what's left? Well, x times what is 4x squared? 4x. And 5 times what is 65? My signs have to be different, so that's a plus. And I can't forget that negative that we had in front right over here. So I can't forget that negative sign. So when I plug 5 in here, 20 plus 13 is 33. So negative 33 is my answer, and that's A. Okay. Similar fashion. Okay, there's my f of x, and there's my c and f of c. So I'm going to have the limit as x approaches, nope, c is 64. Okay, and on the top is f of x, which is the square root of x, minus f of c, which is 8 over x minus 64. Okay, again, you plug 64 in, you get 0 on the bottom. Y'all got to do something about it. You can't leave it like that. So then we multiply by the conjugate to rationalize the numerator. So that's the square root of x. I'm going to just write it right here. Square root of x plus 8. Looks like a 4. Let me do that. How about that? Square root of x plus 8 over square root of x plus 8. Okay, that gives me the limit as x approaches 64 of x minus 64 on the top and x minus 64 on the bottom times the square root of x plus 8. Pooh. All right, I'm left with a 1 on top. So when I plug 64 in for x, square root of 64 is 8. So that gives me 1 over 16. That is the slope of my tangent. So that can't be the answer, and that can't be the answer. Wait, neither can that. I don't even have to go any further. Answer is A, 1 over 16. X plus 4. But if you wanted to, you plug it into this point slope form. Plug this point into the point slope form, and it will simplify to A. All right, find the derivative of f of x of f at x. That is, find f prime of x. All right, I'm going to do the same thing I've been doing, but this time I actually need to go find f of c. So f of 8, if you plug that into this function, you find out that it is equal to 124. So doing the same thing we've been doing, that is the limit as x approaches 8 of f of x is x squared plus 5x plus 20 minus f of c, 124, all over x minus c. Okay, so this simplifies to x squared plus 5x minus 104. It's all over x minus 8. Okay, and I told you it was contrived. So this is going to be, I'm trying to figure out where to write this. I'm going to factor that top. And that's going to give me, I want x minus 8 to be a factor. So I'm going to back that in. That's going to give me x. And 104 divided by 8 is 13. 13 and 8 have a difference of 5. And 1 has to be positive. So it looks like this. X minus 8. And the limit as x approaches 8 of that is plug in 8. And 8 plus 13 is 21. So my answer is B. Oh my goodness, 2 more, y'all. All right, the same kind of thing. All right, instantaneous rate of change is the same thing as the derivative of these problems. So I have x equal to 9. I need to find f of 9. Well, that, of course, is 9 cubed, which is 729 if you want it. But I am looking for, let me come down here, so I don't have to squinch it all in there. So I've got the limit as x approaches 9 of x to the third minus 9 to the third. And I did purposely write it like that because this x cubed minus 9 cubes factors to 2 cubes. X minus 9. Okay, you square the first term, change the sign, multiply them together, and square the last term. So this is going to cancel out, and I'm looking at the limit as x approaches 9 of x squared plus 9x plus 81. And when you plug 9 in that, you actually get 243. So the answer is A. All right, last problem. Okay, again, still looking for the instantaneous velocity, just like we did before. They want it when t is equal to 1.1. So I've got to find f of 1.1. What does that equal? Well, if you plug 1.1 into, actually, I shouldn't say f, I should say s, because I'm plugging it into this right here. And when you plug it in, you get 15.84. So, just what we've been doing. That's the limit as, well, I got to use t. T approaches 1.1 of negative 16t squared plus 32t minus 15.84 over t minus 1.1. Okay? Now, as I said, or as I've been doing, I should need to move that down some because I'm going to factor on top of it. Okay? So that, I'm going to factor out that negative, and that's going to give me 16t squared minus 32t plus 15.84. So that when I factor it on this next step, I'm going to have the limit as t approaches 1.1. I have my negative. I need a factor to be 1.1. And that leaves me with 16t because t times 16t, t times 16t gives me 16t squared. And then 15.84 times what? No, 1.1 times what gives me 15.84. So I'm basically dividing 15.84 divided by 1.1, and that gives me 14.4. All of this over t minus 1.1. I've got to check my signs. I have a positive 15.84, and that's a negative and a negative. So that works. These factors are the same. If I plug 1.1 into this right here, then I'm going to get 3.2, and I have a negative out front. So my answer is C. And that is all that we have for exam review. Hope you all do really well on your exam, and I will see you soon. Thank you.